Uh, Good morning, everyone. We are on the road, and this live is not video game related. Um, it's actually sports related. So if you're not into sports, specifically basketball, I totally get if you tune out on this live. But I wanted to jump on here this morning and have a quick conversation about something that I'm constantly seeing come specifically from the First Take morning show with Stephen A. Smith. And I think this is a prime example of who you don't want to be. Stephen A. Smith is exactly who you do not want to be. When it comes to, that's just a straight up hater. Now, I'm going to preface this by saying that I do believe that Michael Jordan is or was the greatest and most complete basketball player to ever play the game. I think Michael Jordan was the most complete basketball player ever to play the game. And that is what speaks to his greatness. He was top two on every level, defensively, offensively, just offense and defense. You want a guy like Michael Jordan, especially at his peak. And while his peak only lasted a total of 6 years, because this is what we're talking about. When we highlight the greatness of Jordan, we're highlighting a 6-year period of peak performance. That's what you got from Jordan. And so if we were to look at Michael Jordan's peak 6 years and LeBron's peak 6 years, I'm going to pick Michael Jordan every time. Every time. If we're going 6 for 6. However, we know that both of their careers were much longer than 6 years. I think MJ had a 14-year career, and LeBron is now in his 23rd year. And outside of the 6 peak years of Jordan, there's really not a lot to talk about, right? Like, there's really not a lot to talk about with him on the Wizards. And when we start to look at everything before Jordan's first championship, what we talk about is his scoring ability, his athleticism that he had as, obviously as a younger basketball player. And so I'll say it again, if I have to pick Jordan's peak years versus LeBron's peak 6 years, if we're going the best 6 years for best 6 years, I'm picking Michael Jordan's peak 6 years. I'm not going to deny that. Jordan was the greatest. No one's had a better 6-year run than MJ. However, we can't look at it that way because their careers were much longer than that. And you have to look at it like yourself. Let's say as an individual, as a person, you get to live, most people live for an average of 70 years. And maybe you had 6, 7, or 8 years out of the 70 years of your life where you were probably in the best shape of your life. Maybe you were making more money than ever. Maybe you were a very sociable person. You had a strong network. Just think about the best 5 to 6 years of your life. And if people judged you just on those 5, 6 years and completely ignored the other, 60 plus years that most people live their lives, you would say that that's not a complete picture. That's not a accurate way to judge someone's life or what they've been able to accomplish in their life. And the mistake that I think a lot of people make when they look at this conversation, specifically Stephen A. Smith, the mistake he makes is that he argues Jordan versus LeBron based on 6 years. And he tries to diminish the other 8 years of Jordan's career that were not successful, while simultaneously dismissing the other amazing 17 years of LeBron's career. And that's why I think this GOAT debate nonsense is foolish. This is why I think it's stupid. But I think the reason why Stephen A continues to do this nonsense on his morning show is for a couple reasons. One, no one really cares about the fact that Stephen A. Smith considers Michael Jordan to be the GOAT. But Stephen A. Smith thinks that his opinion about the GOAT weighs so heavily because he's on First Take. But let's be honest, if Stephen A. Smith didn't have First Take, no one would give a crap about about who Stephen A. thinks is the GOAT, and he wouldn't be able to push that narrative as hard as he pushes it. And I think he pushes it because a big part of what makes the Jordan brand successful, the reason why so many people bought Nike Jordans, the reason why so many people bought Air Jordans, the reason why people still revere Michael Jordan to this day is because of the connotation that was associated with Jordan brand. When you think of Jordan brand, you think of winning, you think of being undefeated, you think of GOAT status. And the second that narrative is no longer associated with the Jordan brand, the brand starts to lose appeal. It starts to lose money. It starts to lose, it's not as potent, it's not as effective, and it's not as popular. And I think that ever since the 80s with Phil Knight, Michael Jordan, there's always been this, I don't want to use the word agenda, because obviously Jordan is great. You know what I mean? He did win those championships. It's not like Jordan didn't do those things. He did those things. However, a big part of the branding and a big part of what made the Jordan brand a billion-dollar brand is pushing the narrative that MJ is this undefeated, unblemished sports figure that's never had periods in his career that were met with failure. And that's just not the truth. That's just not true. And I personally think in 2026, no one cares, bro. No one really cares about who's the GOAT. No one cares to argue that. Most Gen Z, most millennials at this point, they no longer care about who's the GOAT. I think most people at this stage of the game have said to themselves, and I'm sorry if there are comments in there, I want to say good morning to everyone who's putting a comment. I'm not able to see your comments, but most people who follow the sport at this point have pretty much locked into their view. Either you think LeBron is the GOAT or you think Jordan's the GOAT. And you're going to have your reasons for why. Most people who pick Jordan as the GOAT, it's because they prioritize scoring, they prioritize championships. Those are the stats they care about. They don't really prioritize any other stats. And I mean, I have a much smaller platform, obviously, than First Take. I have a much smaller platform than a lot of these things, but I think I'm ready. As much as people are ready for LeBron to retire, I'm ready for Stephen A. Smith to retire, bro. We need a new voice on sports in the media that occupies a space as large as First Take. We really do. Like, we need a new, fresh voice, because his conversations are so stale. I feel like I've been hearing the same thing for 20 years, bro. Give it a rest. Like, give it up, bro. Like, talk about something else. Like, for real. Like, and I respect Stephen A's pedigree as a longtime journalist. I respect, his time covering the sport. But, bro, give it up, dog. No one cares to argue about who the GOAT is. You should be talking about, if you want to talk about who could be the next GOAT. Is it Shea? Could Shea become the next GOAT? Could Shea surpass MJ? Could any one of these new cats surpass MJ? The Thunder are getting ready to do a back-to-back, win back-to-back championships. That's what the Thunder are about to do. Shea Gilgeous-Alexander is young enough to have the first three-peat that we've seen in 20 years, if the OKC Thunder stay healthy and stay together. But you're on this dude, Michael Jordan and LeBron's nuts, bro. And it's like, dude, let it go. Let it go. And I could guarantee you, I mean, he will probably no longer be on the airwaves long enough for this to happen. But if another NBA star begins to encroach on the GOAT status, if there's another player that begins to encroach on that GOAT status for MJ, he's going to do the same thing to them, especially if they do not allow him in their camp. And I'm going to leave you with this. Every time I hear Stephen A. Smith talk about LeBron James, he sounds like a bitter ex-girlfriend who's mad that her ex won't text her back. Because we all know the real reason Stephen A. Smith does not like LeBron James is because LeBron will not allow him into his camp. And so because of that, he's bitter. He's burnt. Stephen A. Smith, a guy with his pedigree, cannot get the #1 player in NBA sports or basketball. He cannot get the #1 player to sit down and talk to him. And that is a massive blow to his ego. He can't handle it. Bro, get off your knees for MJ. Get off of LeBron's sack and go talk about somebody else, bro. Talk about somebody else. I'd love to see a whole month go by where we do not have this same stale GOAT debate. It's so stale, bro. And last week he said, oh, if LeBron allows the Thunder to come back on a 3-0 lead, it's going to taint his legacy. What happened Friday? The Lakers destroy Houston, and here we are Monday morning, and Stephen A. does not want to say a thing about it. And that, my friends, is a hater. That, my friends, is a person who you can believe Jordan is the GOAT. Nobody cares that you think Jordan is the GOAT. But when you refuse to acknowledge greatness at the same level that you acknowledge it for others, you're going to be a hater. And what Stephen A. Smith doesn't realize he's doing is he is diminishing the value of his opinion to the modern day audience. That's what he's doing. If people cared about what Stephen A. thought 10, 15 years ago, the more he beats this dead horse, the less his opinion holds any kind of weight in the discussion. Those are my thoughts. I just wanted to get that off my chest because I am a basketball fan. You guys let me know what you think in the comments. I'll catch you in the next one. It's the Y2K Collector. Take it easy.